Well, you're at the ark.
Is that better, Rachel?
We don't see you there.
Yeah,
except at
it's
the
better.
ark,
Okay.
which is where you should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay.
You sit where you're sitting.
So what was the thing? Oh, I was gonna check
You're at the ark. We don't see you there.
Yeah,
it's not.
Now it's YouTube. It's like
All right, so it's now on YouTube, and I am going to make. I'm going to make the one.
the one that
The one that you're sitting at is now going to be the host.
no. Well, can you make it the one that's just you? That's your picture with the dogs. Can you make that the host? Because that's Elise, right?
Elise, it seems to be Elise.
I think it's this. You can't see my cursor. I think that isn't it the camera with Ann and Hetty?
That's
It's
the
connected
Kindle.
to.
No, that's the Kindle.
No, that the Kindle's on you. So
Oh,
the camera that's facing out to everyone, that should be me.
This one.
Okay, good.
yeah.
And actually, I guess, Rachel, this maybe should suggest to us that we have like different names for the things.
Yes, we did try that.
Try.
Thomas, everybody, it's great to see you all. And I'm going to go walk the dogs because they're
Thank you so much for popping on and handling this. I really appreciate it.
Great to see you.
Good morning, Rabbi Jim.
He's gone.
Hello.
He's off.
Good morning. So, Rabbi Kaplan, Mazel Tov on your ordination.
Yes.
That is, how would you like to be called?
Thank you so much for asking. Rabbi Rachel is great.
I love it. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's 10 o'clock according to the solar calendar.
That's lovely.
We'll be, well, I don't know. Certainly on my computer. So we begin Pesukei de Zimra with Ma Tovu on page 101. I will ask you all to mute, and then when we get to other prayers, we can unmute and chant together.
Great. Oh, yeah. Wait, Ben, sorry. Can you unmute? At least we just muted you by accident, which probably will happen periodically because technology.
Great.
Okay, we're set. Let's start. Page 101. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael va'ani berov chastecha ahavo behetecha eshtachave el heichal kadshecha b'yiratecha Adonai ahavti ma'on beitecha umekom mishkan kevodecha va'ani eshtachave evracha lifnei Adonai osi va'ani tefilati Lecha Adonai Tratzon Elohim Berov Chastecha Aneni Be'emet Yishecha. We go back to page 99. And let us say together in Hebrew the second paragraph. Eloheinu shama shenatata bi tahora hi ata barata ata yitzarta ata niftachta bi va'ata mishamra bikirbi va'ata atid latila mimeni lahachazira bi la'atid lavo kol zman shama bikirbi modeh Ani lafanecha Adonai Elohai ve'Elohei Avotai ve'imatai Ribon kol hama'asim, Adon kol neshamot, Baruch ata Adonai hamachazer neshamot nifgarim meitim. Let us read together in English the paragraph, the body. Baruch ata Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, who crafted the human body with wisdom, created within it many openings and passageways. It is known and revealed to you that should even a single passageway rupture or a single opening close up, it would no longer be possible to exist and stand before you. Baruch ata Adonai, healer of all flesh, who creates wondrously. We then turn to page 103. Berchot HaShacha, please rise if you are able. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher natan l'sechbi bina lahavin ben yom uben laila. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, shatzani b'tzal moho. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, shatzani ben chorin. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Shasani Yisrael, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Pokeach Ivriim, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Malbish Arumihim. The next page, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Martir Asurehim, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Zokef Kefufihim, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, shasali kol tzarkihi. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Ozei Yisrael bigvuraha. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Otei Yisrael b'tifaraha. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Hanoten layoef koach. You may be seated. We turn to page 107, and let's read together silently the first two paragraphs in Hebrew. Baruch atah Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'kunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Let's read together in English the last paragraph. Talmud. These are the deeds that yield immediate fruit and continue to yield fruit in time to come. Honoring parents, performing deeds of kindness and love, attending the house of study morning and evening, providing hospitality, visiting the sick, helping the needy bride, attending the dead, probing the meaning of prayer, making peace between one person and another, and between husband and wife. And the study of Torah is the most basic of them all. Let's see, Harriet, if you could unmute yourself and lead us responsively on page 120, Psalm 30.
Okay. What did you say? Where?
Page 120, Psalm 30.
The psalm, the song for the dedication of the house for David. I raise my voice to praise you, Adonai, for you have lifted me up and not allowed my enemies to rejoice over me.
Adonai, my God, I cried out to you and you healed me.
Adonai, you raised me up from Sheol. You gave me life and did not let me descend into the pit.
Sing to Adonai, faithful people. Praise God as you pronounce God's name.
Surely God's anger lasts but a moment, and when God is pleased, life is granted.
One may lie down crying at night, but wake in the morning with joyful song.
I had said when I was tranquil, I shall never be undone.
Adonai, when it pleased you, you made me a mountain of strength. But when you hid your face, I was terrified.
I called to you, Adonai. I pleaded before my master.
What could be the gain were I to go down to the grave? Can dust praise you? Can it speak of your truth?
Hear me, Adonai, and be kind to me. Be my helper, Adonai.
You turned my mourning into a dance for me. You undid my sackcloth and girded me with joy, that I might sing of your glory and not be silent. Adonai, my God, I thank you always. In Hebrew, in the middle of the page, we will chant 2 lines. Elecha Adonai ekra, v'el Adonai et Hanan. Elecha Adonai ekra, v'el Adonai et Hanan. Shema Adonai v'chaneni, Adonai heye ozer li. Shema Adonai v'chaneni, Adonai heye ozer li. Is there a minion? Looks like it, 4 or 5. Is there anyone who would like to say the Mornis Kaddish at this point?
The art site of my mother, Libby Hertzfeld, this week.
But anyone else? And please go ahead.
Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Shemay.
Hey, Rob. There is one person who's raised their hand, and I can't see you. If you could tell us who you are saying the prayer in memory.
Yeah.
My longtime friends, Ken Love and Ruth Love.
Good, thank you. Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemay Rabbah v'Alma Divrachirute v'Amlich Malchute v'Chayechon v'Yomechon v'Chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach li'olam li'almei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpo'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalel Shmei dekudusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata da'amiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. We continue the service on 122. Please rise if you are able. Baruch she'amar v'haya halam baruch hu, Baruch oseh bereshit, Baruch omer v'oseh, Baruch gozer u'makayem, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch mishalem sachar tov l'reyav, Baruch chai la'ad v'kayam l'netzach, Baruch podeh u'matzil, Baruch shemaho. Baruch atah Nigadlecha v'nishabecha v'nifarecha v'nazkir shimcha v'namlicha malkenu Eloheinu yachid chei oholamim melech mishubach u'mufa'ar adei ad shemo hagadol Baruch atah Adonai melech mechulal v'tishbacho hod. Please be seated. We continue on page 127. Let us all sing together in the middle of the page. Torah Adonai Tamima, Torah Adonai Tamima, Torah Adonai Tamihima, Tamihima Meshiva Nafesh, Edut Adonai Nemana, Edut Adonai Nemana, Edut Adonai Nemahana, Nemahana Makihima Peti. Oi, Pekude Adonai, Yesharim, Yesharim, Mesamachelev. Oh, Pekude Adonai, Yesharim, Yesharim, Mesamachelev. Mitzvah Adonai bara, Mitzvah Adonai bara, Mitzvah Adonai bahara, bahara me'irat einayim, Yirat Adonai tahora, Yirat Adonai tahora, Yirat Adonai tahora, tahora omedet la'ad. Oh, Mishtei Adonai, Emet, Emet, Tzadikuhu Yachdav. Oh, Mishtei Adonai, Emet, Emet, Tzadikuhu Yachdav. We continue on page 132. If you wish to unmute, that is fine when we chant Ki Le'olam Chasto. Because of the echo, I will pause to make sure we're finished with the response. But please feel to sing out. Please rise if you are able. Odu Ladonai Kitov.
Le'olam Hasto.
Odu Leilo Heya Elohim.
Le'olam Hasto.
Odu Ladonai Adonim.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'ose Niflaot Gedolot Levado.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'ose Hashemayim B'Tfuna.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'roka Ha'aretz Al Hamayim.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'ose Orim Gedolim.
Le'olam Hasto.
Et Hashemesh Lememshalat Bayom.
Le'olam Hasto.
Et Hayareach B'Kochavim Shemem Shalot Bahalayla.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'makei Mitzrayim B'Chorehem.
Le'olam Hasto.
Yotzei Yisrael Mitocham.
Le'olam Hasto.
B'yad Chazaka Ubezruah Netuyah.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'gozer Yam Suf L'Gzarim.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'evir Yisrael B'tocho.
Le'olam Hasto.
Mi'ar Paro V'helo V'yam Suf.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'moli Chamo B'midbar.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'makei Melachim Gedolim.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'harog Melachim Adirim.
Le'olam Hasto.
Le'sichon Melech Omri.
Le'olam Hasto.
Ula'og Melech Habashan.
Le'olam Hasto.
Natan Artsam Le'nachala.
Le'olam Hasto.
Nachala Yisrael Avdo.
Le'olam Hasto.
Yabish Lifleinu Zacher Lanu.
Le'olam Hasto.
Yifrakenu Mitzarenu.
Le'olam Hasto.
Noten Lechem L'chol Basor.
Le'olam Hasto.
Odu Le'el Hashamayim.
Le'olam Hasto.
Please. Good. Let's let's see. Miriam, will you lead us? You have Lev Shalem? You don't. Susan Brand, you have Lev Shalem. Could you lead us responsively on page 134?
Sure. Psalm 92?
I hope so. It's not listed here.
Very tiny, tiny print at the end.
Oh, at the end, yes.
You've got it. Yep.
Oh, it says Psalm 93. So,
Do both, 92 and 93.
no,
92 is the Sabbath
yeah,
song.
I'm sorry, just 92.
Okay.
Thank you.
A psalm, the song of the day of Shabbat. It is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night.
Sing of the lute, pluck the harp, let the sound of the lyre rise up.
You gladden me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork.
How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs.
The arrogant do not understand. The fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only to be destroyed forever.
But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time.
Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered.
As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil.
As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear.
The righteous flourish like a date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age, they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming, Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no flaw. In Hebrew, just to the right, Tzahadikata hamar yifrahach, ki eres balvanon yiskeh, shetulim beveit Adonai, bechatrot Eloheinu yafrichu, od yenuvun beseva, deshenim v'rahanim yuhu, lehagid ki yashar Adonai, Suhuri velo avlatabo. We continue on page 136. I will chant Ashrei. And Rabbi Rachel, will you be the respondent, please?
Yes, with pleasure.
Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, od yahalalucha, selah.
Ashrei ha'am shekacha lo, Ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Elohav.
Tehillah David, aromimcha Elohai hamelech, v'avracha shimcha li'olam va'ed.
B'chol yom avarchecha, v'alav shimcha le'olam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai mechulal me'od, uligdulato ein cheker.
Dor ledor yishbacha ma'asecha, u'gvuratecha yagidu.
Adar kavod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
Bezuz nerotecha yomeru, u'gedulatcha asaprena.
Zecher rabtucha yabi'u, v'tzidkacha yiranenu.
Anu merachum Adonai, erech apayim udol chesed.
Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asahav.
Oducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yevarchucha.
Kavod malchutka yomeru, gvuratcha yadaberu.
Lehodia libnei ha'adam gevurotav, uchrod hadar malchuto.
Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor vador.
Tomech Adonai lechol hanoflim, v'zokef kechol hakuflim.
Im yechol elecha yisaberu, va'ata noten lachem et oklam be'ito.
פותח את ידיך ומשביע לכל חי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל הרשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך כל בשור, שם קדשו לעולם ועד. ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah. We continue on page 141. Hallelujah, 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 El Bekacho, hallelujah, hallelujah, Berki Auzo, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Big Vurotov, hallelujah, hallelujah, Karov, good low, hallelujah, 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 Bete Kashofar, hallelujah, hallelujah, Benevel Vichinor. Hallelujah, 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 betofu macho, hallelujah, hallelujah, beminim ve'ugav, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, B'tzil Tele Shama. Hallelujah, hallelujah, B'tzil Tele Trua. Kol Hanshama, hallelujah, Tehallel hallelujah. Kol Hanshama, Tehallel hallelujah. Kol Hanshama, Tehallel. Hallelujah. Please turn to page 145 and we will chant until the bottom of 146. Nishmat kol chai tevarech et shemcha. Ilupinu. The bottom of page 146. Mi yid medlach, umi yishvelach, umi yarechlach. Ha'el hagadol hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon Kone Shamayim Va'aretz, Nahalechacha v'nishabechacha v'nifarechacha, v'nivarech et Shem Kadshecha, Ka'amor leDavid Barchi Nafshi et Adonai, B'kol Karavahai, et Shem Kadsho. Page 147. Ha'el b'ta'atzumadu zecha, Hagadol b'kavod shemecha, Hagibor lanesak v'anora b'norotecha, Hamelech hayoshev al kisei ram v'nisa.
Yisher koach.
Toda rabah.
Asher Koach, Ben. Thank you so much for leading Sukkot Zimra. It's a beautiful way to start the Shabbat morning together. Shabbat Shalom to anyone who popped on or came. I think I got to say hi to everybody in the room, but not everybody in the Zoom room. Really happy to be together this morning, and just wanted to also say a quick hello. I think if I do, oh no, hold on. Elise is also here with us today. She's behind the scenes a little bit, so you can't quite see her, but she's here helping out while Rabbi Jim is still recovering. He popped on for a moment and looked great, and it was really nice to see him, and he said that he's doing well, so
That's good.
yeah,
Very good.
grateful to hear good news. And Susan, I believe you're on for Shacharit, so we're happy to have you whenever you're ready to start on page 147.
Great. Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatu rananu tzadikim b'Adonai la'esharim nava tehila b'fi yesharim tithala uvdivrei tzadikim titborach uvilshon chasidim tikromam uv'kerev kadoshim titkadash uvmakalot rivavot amacha beit Yisrael v'nai poreshim kama Urador Shekain Chovat Kol Yitzurim Lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Elohei Avotenu V'Imotenu Lahodot Lahalel L'Shabeach All Kol Divrei Shirot V'Tish B'Chot David Ben Yishai Abdecha Meshichecha. Page 148. Please rise if you're able. Yishtabach Shimecha La'ad Malkeinu. Barachot v'hodot me'atav yad olam. Baruch atah Adonai el melech gadol batishbachot. El hahodaot Adon haniflaot habocher b'shirei zimra melech elchei haolamim yitkadav yitkadash shemei rabah Yoma divrak yirtei v'yamlech malchutei b'chayichon v'yamechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael v'agolav v'zman kariv yimeru amen. Yishmei Rabam, Mevarach Yolom Emaya, Yitvarach Yishtabach, Yitor Yitramam Bitnase, Yitadar Yitalev Yitalal Shemei Kudusha, Elo Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata, Tishbachata V'Nechamata Damiran B'Yama V'Yimaru, Amen. Baruch Hu on page 149. Baruch et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamorach Leolam Va'ed.
Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam yotzer or b'rei choshech oseh shalom u'borei et hakol. Hakol yoducha v'hakol yishabechucha. We're at the red triangle towards the bottom of 150. Ein kirkecha v'ein zulatecha, efes biltecha, umidome lach. Ein kirkecha v'ein zulatecha, efes biltecha, umidome lach. Ein kirkecha ba'olam hazeh, v'ein zulatecha ha'olam haba, efes biltecha limod hamashiach, v'ein dome lecha lichiyat hametim. El Adon al kol hamasim baruch bara b'fikol neshama gadlo v'tuvo malei olam da'at ubuna shovavimoto hamid gael achayot hakodesh v'nedar b'chava al hamerkava zechut umishor lifnei chiso chesed v'rachamim lifnei kvodo Tovi miorot shebara Eloheinu yitzaram b'da'at b'vina uv'haskel koach uvura natan bahem liot moshlim b'kerev tevel meleim ziv u'mafikim noga na'ezivam b'chol ha'olam samechim b'tzeitam v'sasim b'voam osim b'yema ritzon konam E'er v'chavot notnim lishmot alavarina lezecher machuto kara lashemesh vayizrach ora v'hitkin tzurat havana shevach notnim lo kol tzeva marom Tiferet u'gedula serafim b'yofanim v'chayot hakodesh ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Continue silently on page 152. La era shir shavat mikol ma'asim. Continue silently on page 153. Tiporak, Surenu, Malkenu, Bego Alenu. Kulam ahuvim, kulam berurim, kulam giborim, b'chulam osim bi'ema, uvyira ritzon konam, b'chulam potfim et pihem, b'kdushav tahara, b'shira uvzimra, umfarchim ushabachim ufarim umaritzim, umakdishim umamlichim, et shem ha'el ha'melech ha'gadol, ha'gibor v'hanora kadoshu. V'chulam mekablim aleichem o malchut shamayim ze mizeh v'chulam mekablim aleichem o malchut shamayim ze mizeh v'chulam mekablim aleichem o malchut shamayim ze mizeh v'chulam mekablim aleichem O malchut shamayim zemizeh v'notnim reshut zelazeh lakdish nachat ruach v'shafar ruach v'ruach doshav kulam kiachad onim v'yomim v'yirah kadosh 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 Adonai tzvaot melochol haaretz kavodo v'afanim v'chayot hakodesh v'rash gadol minasim liumat serafim liumatam meshabachim v'yomrim Baruch kavod Adonai mimkomo la'el baruch limot yitenu. Or Chadash El Tzion Ta'ir, or Chadash El Tzion Ta'ir, v'nizkechu lanu mehera li'oro, Baruch Ata Adonai, Yotzer Hamiorot. Let's sing together the top of page 154. Ahava Rabbav Tanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gedola V'Teira Chamata Aleinu Avinu Malkeinu Bavur Avotenu V'Imotenu Shebatchu V'cha Avinu Malkeinu Vat Lamden Chukei Chaim Kain techanenu lamdenu avinu ha'av ha'rachaman amrachem rachem aleinu v'tein b'libenu v'havinu l'hashmer l'toa li'amonu lilamed lishmor v'lasod ukayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha bi'ahava V'ha'erenu b'toratecha v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha v'yached levavenu li'achava u'yira et shemecha v'ha'erenu b'toratecha v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha v'yached levavenu li'achava u'yira et shemecha V'lo nevosh li'olam va'ed. V'lo nevosh li'olam va'ed. Ki v'shem kadshecha agadol v'hanora b'atachnu nagila 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 v'nismecha b'yeshuatecha v'havienu l'shalom yarba kantot ha'aretz v'tolikenu kamimut li'artzenu ki el poel yeshuot ata uvanu v'acharta mikol am v'lashon v'keiraftanu l'shimcha hagadol selah b'yamet l'hodot l'cha u'yacherecha b'ya'ava Baruch ata Adonai Abocheb Yamo Yisrael Bi'ahava. Page 155. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol miodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'shachtecha u'kumecha u'ksortam liot al yadecha v'hayu l'totachot b'einecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. And continue silently to the bottom of page 156. Adonai Elohechem Emet. At the page, top of page 157 at the top red arrow, Lador Vador Hu Kayam Ushmo Kayam V'chiso Nachon U'Malchuto V'Emunato La'ad Kayamet. Malkeinu Melech Avotenu Vimotenu Go Aleinu Goel Avotenu Vimotenu Yotrenu Tzur Yeshuatenu Kodenu Matzilenu Me'olam Shemecha Ein Elohim Zulatecha Ezrat Avotenu Vimotenu Atahu Me'olam. Sing together the last two lines on page 157. Emet, Emet, Emet Atahu Rishon. Emet, Emet, Emet Atahu Acharo. Umi baladecha ein lanu melech, melech goel u'Moshiach. Umi baladecha ein lanu melech, melech goel u'Moshiach. We continue silently on the top of page 158, the top third of the page. Ram v'nisa gadol v'nora mashpil geim umagbiya shifalim motzi asirim ufo de'anavim v'yozer dalim Vion Eliamo b'yet Shavam Elav Tehilot Le'el Elyon Tehilot Le'el Elyon Baruch Hu U'Mevorach Moshe U'Miriam U'Bnei Yisrael Moshe U'Miriam U'Bnei Yisrael Lecha Anu Shirah Besimcha Rabba Besimcha Rabba V'Yamru Chulam Mi Chamocha Bo'elim Adonai Mi Chamocha Nedar B'Kodesh Norah Tehilot Osef Eleh Shira Chadasha Shibuchu Gulim L'Shimcha Safat Hayam Yachad Kulam Hodu V'Himlichu V'Yamaru Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Ba'ed. Please rise if you're able. Sur Yisrael Kuma B'Ezrat Yisrael Uftehinu Mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael, Go Aleinu Adonai Tzvayot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. And the Amidah begins on page 159. We'll sing together through the Kedusha and then read silently until the end. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, v'Elohei Rachel v'Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Ima'ot, U'Mevi Goel L'Bnei B'neihem L'man Shemo B'Yahava. Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ufokei Sarah אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמנותך החיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני בחיי המתים.
מקדש שמך בעולם, כשם שמקישים אותו בשמי מרום, וכתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר.
מקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, וכתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בפורש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מנסים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנסים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו.
ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך, מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב ימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור לנצח נצחים.
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב ימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. ויהננו תירנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך.
ברוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה.
ברוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גדלך, נצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Continue silently through page 166. Sabenu, 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 Mitubecha, Visamtenu, Oi Bishuatecha, Sabenu, 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 Mitubecha, Visamtenu, Oi Bishuatecha, Vitaher, Libenu, Libenu, Liatecha, Liatecha, Liatecha. Now, page 167 for the Kaddish Shalem, rise if you're able. Yikada v'yikada shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yamad Yirakritev, Yamlit Malchutev, B'chayechonu v'yamechonu, B'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, Bagolav Yisman Kari v'yemaru.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorah, Leolam Lo Me'omaya, Yitvorach. Yitvorach v'yishtabach, Yitvar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalosh shemei Kedusha. Leila min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran b'yama v'yemaru. Kabel slotahon v'tahon, B'cho Yisrael, Kadama v'hon di v'shmaya v'yemaru.
Amen.
Shlama Rabba Mishmaya v'chayim aleinu v'yokol Yisrael v'yemaru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mroma, Puya seh shalom aleinu v'yokol Yisrael v'yokol Yoshvei Tevel v'yemaru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, Puya seh shalom aleinu v'yokol Yisrael v'imru v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'yokol Yisrael.
Ya'akol Yisrael. A little time delay over here if you want. No. Yasher Kolach, Susan, thank you so much for leading Shacharit. It was beautiful. I really love how the folks at Worship and Study just jump in and lead and are such just, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's something that encapsulates like how you all pitch in and make the minyan happen. It's really inspiring to see, and I'm grateful for all of your energy and effort. So without further ado, I believe that Miriam and Sherry are going to do us the honor of reading the Torah portion, which this week is Parshat Balak, which can be found on
894.
Susan, you're always so much faster than me. I love it.
I wasn't talking. I could look for it.
So it's on page, the whole parsha starts on page 894 in the Eitz Chaim Chumash, which Elise is going to share the screen with in a moment. Or I can do it if you want me to. Oh, it's already there. Never mind. I have the.
Can everyone see it?
Yes, we can. Yep, it's there. Great.
Okay, great.
And so.
What page are we starting?
Sherry?
We're starting at chapter 22, verse 2 on page 894.
Yeah. Sherry, should we do the bracha together? Lasso.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Vayar Balak ben Zippor et kol asher asa Yisrael la'emori vayagar Moav mipnei ha'am me'od kiravu vayakatz Moav mipnei bnei Yisrael vayomer Moav el ziknei Midian Atah Yivachachu Bahal Et Kol Sevivatenu Kilchach Hashor Et Yerek HaSadeh Uvalak Ben Zippor Melech LeMoav Vayetahi.
Next to Leah is verses 5 to 7.
Vayishlach malachim el Bil'am ben Me'or V'Torah Asher al Hanar Eretz b'nei Amo likra lo Lemor Hinei Am yatsa mitzrayim hinei yatsa v'nein haaretz v'hu yoshev mimuli yata yahana harali et ha'am hazeh yatsum umimeni Uvayu Nagebo Bagarshenu Min Haaretz Ki Yadati Hey Asher Tivarech Mevorach Asher Taor Yuar.
Wait, one more.
Really? Oh, okay. Mine.
7. To verse
Oh,
7.
I'm sorry. Vayahu Zignei Moab Zignei Midian Uksamim Biyadam Vayavo El Bilam Vayadabru Elav Divrei Bala.
The next to Leah is verses 8 to 12. Yasher Koach, Sherry.
Thank you.
Beautifully done.
Thank you.
Vayomer Aleihem Linufo Halayla Vashivoti Etchem Navar Kaasher Yedaber Adonai Elai Vayeshvu Sarei Moav Im Bil'am Vayavo Elohim El Bil'am Vayomer Mi Anashim Ha'ela Imach Vayomer Bil'am El Ha'elohim Allah Ben Sipur Melech Moab Shalach Elai Hine Ha'am Hayotze Mitzrayim Vayechasedein Haaretz Atah L'cha Kava Li Oto Ulai Uchal Lehinachem Bo V'gerashtiv Vayomer Elohim El Bil'am Lo Telech Imahem Lo Ta'or Et Ha'am Ki Baruchu.
And next to Leah is verses 13 to 20.
Vayakom Bil'am Baboker Vayomer El Sarei Balak Lechu El Artzachem He Ve'en Adonai Letiti Lahalo Imachem Vayakumu Sarei Moab Vayavo'u El Balak Vayomru Ve'en Bil'am Halok Imanu Vayosef Od Balak Galoach Sarim Rabim V'nichbadim Me'ele Vayavo'u El Bil'am Vayomru Lo Ko Amar Balak Ben Sipor Al Natimana Ve'alok Elai Ikabed Akabedacha Ma'od Bechol Asher Tomar Elai Ezer Wilchana Kavali את העם הזה, ויען בלעם, ויאמר על די בלק, אם ייתן לי בלק ולא ביתו כסף, ולא ביתו כסף וזהב, לא אוכל לעבור את פי אדוני אלוהי, לעשות קטונה או גדולה, ועתה שובו נא בזה גם אתם הלילה, ועד יוסף אדוני דבר עמי, ויבוא אלוהים אל בלעם לילה, ויאמר לו, אם לקרוא לך באו האנשים, קום לך איתם, ואך את הדבר אשר אדבר אליך אותו תעשה.
The next Aliyah is verses 21 to 27.
ויקום בלעם בבוקר, ויחבוש את אתונו, וילך עם שרי מואב, ויחרב אלוהים, כי הולך הוא, ויצא מלאך אדוני בדרך לשטן לו, והוא רוכב על אתונו, ושני נעריו עמו, ותראה האתון את מלאך אדוני ניצב בדרך, והרבו שלופה בידו, ותרד האתון מן הדרך, ותלך בשדה, ויך בלעם את האתון לחטאותה הדרך, ויעמוד מלאך אדוני במשעול הכרמים, גדר מזה וגדר מזה, ותראה האתון את מלאך אדוני, ותלחץ אל הקיר, ותלחץ את רגל בלעם אל הקיר, ויוסף להכותה, ויוסף מלאך אדוני עבור, ויעמוד במקום צר אשר על דרך לנטות ימין ושמאל, ותראה האתון את מלאך אדוני, ותרבץ תחת בלעם, ויחרב בלעם, ויך את האתון במקל.
And the next Aliyah is verses 28 to 30.
ויטח אדוני כי האתון, ותאמר לבלעם, ועשיתי לך כי הכיתני זה 3 רגלים, ויאמר בלעם לאתון, כי התגלעת בי, לו יש חרב בידי, כי אתה הרגתיך. ותאמר האתון אל בלעם, הלא אנוכי אתונך, אשר רכבתי עלי, בעודך עד היום הזה, Kain is kanti laso lechako by Homer Lo.
And the last Aliyah is verses 31 to 38.
My God Adonai, et Nevil Am, Ayar, et Malach Adonai Nitzav Baderek, Arbo Shlufa Yado, Vayikod, Vayishtaku La'apa, Vayomer Elav Malach Adonai, Alma. את אותם זה שלוש רגלים, הנה אנוכי יצאתי לשטן, ירדת דרך לנגדי, ותראני האתון, לתת לפניי זה שלוש רגלים. Ulai natata niponai niata kamot paharati ota echayeti vayomebilam elmalaha Adonai hatati ki lo yadati ki ata nitzav likrat Sav likrati badarek ve'ata imra be'enecha ashuvali vayomer malach Adonai el bil'am lechim ha'anashim ve'efes et hadavar asher adaber elecha Oto tadaber, vayelech bil'am im sarei balak, vayishma balak kiba bil'am, vayetze likrato elir mo'ah, asher agvul arnon, asher biktzei hagavul, vayomer balak, El bil'am, halo, shalachti elecha, likro lach, lama lo halakta elai, ha'umnam lo uchal kabdecha, vayomer bil'am, el balak, Hine bati elecha ata hayakol uchal daber muma hadavar asher yasim Elohim bevi oto adaber.
Yasher Koach, Miriam, Ellie, Sherry, thank you both so much. Before we transition out of the Torah into the Haftarah, I just want to take a moment and ask for somebody who would volunteer to read the English Parsha synopsis that can be found on the bottom. Elise, if you don't mind scrolling back to 894 where the Parsha starts. If someone would read in English, either who's in the room or in the Zoom room, just so that if anybody kind of zoned out in a minute or was only hearing the Hebrew and not following along in the English, just to have a sense of what we just read. Any volunteers to read?
Rachel's the bottom.
Yes, that is it. You got it.
I can read it if nobody else wants to.
Go for it, Susan. You're up.
This parasha contains what may be the only comic passage in the Torah. It tells how Balaam, reputedly the world's most powerful wizard, cannot find his way out of his own neighborhood, and now his attempts to curse Israel are turned into blessings in his mouth. The overall message, however, is a serious one. God continues to watch over Israel and extend divine protection to them despite their recalcitrant behavior and lack of appreciation. Human efforts to harm the people Israel will not prevail. This story's most memorable feature is the talking donkey. Here, as in so many tales and folklore, when animals behave like humans, it raises questions. What does it mean to be human? What makes us...
Oh, wait, Susan, we can't hear you. Did you mute yourself?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, my book moved.
What does it mean to be human? We lost you there.
Okay, what does it mean to be human? What makes us different from other animals? Seeing the angel blocking the path, the donkey can recognize better than Balaam does that what they are setting out to do is wrong. Human beings should have the capacity to know right from wrong. When temptation and weakness blind us to the wrongness of what we are doing, we are no better than dumb animals. Some rabbinical sources see Balaam as an authentic prophet sent to the Gentiles as Moses was sent to the Israelites. For that reason, his incantations were to be feared, and God had to change his cursings into blessings. Others see Balaam as a pathetic, arrogant fraud whose only successful trick was to fool himself into believing that God approved of his intentions. When the gift of prophecy was given to the Gentile nations, many of them misused it, seeking to destroy rather than to bless. The opposition between God and the sorcerer is the opposition between the true deity and human wisdom. Sorcery is one of the heathen arts grounded in people's believing in their own power to force God to reveal the divine secrets.
Thank you for reading that, Susan. I hope that was helpful for folks just to hear a little bit of contextual context of what we just read. So with that, I want to pause to do the Misha Berach before we move on to the Haftarah. And if somebody hasn't already developed a desire to read the Haftarah, this is a moment as we're transitioning into the Misha Berach to think about whether you would feel excited about reading the Haftarah. And I will do the thing that we always do, it seems, which is ask for folks to share names of people that they want to be thinking about, need to be thinking about, who need some prayers for healing. I'll say some words in Hebrew, invite people to share names, say some more rest of the blessing in Hebrew, and then I'll translate it into English. So we'll start with the folks who are in the Zoom room. So if you just want to unmute yourselves, I'll start with the prayer and then you can fill in names. Yishaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim. Jim, I see that you are unmuted. You ready to share a name?
Yes, Nehemiah and Danny Clark.
Dan?
Richard Siegel, Dory Gerber.
Thank you. Susan?
Sarah Brand, Elizabeth Brand, and Jennifer Chung.
Thank you. Miriam?
Eddie bat Sarah, Sarah bat Abigail, Ilan ben Vered, Amy bat Rivka, Jane bat Hayedel, Jane, Nikki, Jerry, and Ben, and all those folks.
All those what?
Suffering from the COVID virus.
Thank you, Miriam. Sherry?
Ruth Bat Sarah and Harav Yitzchak Lev ben Abraham Besara.
Thank you, Sherry. You read my mind. Harry, did you have names that you wanted to share?
Yes. Did you call on me? Okay. Sandra Olansky, Paul Flicker, Norman Newberg, Inga de Wilde, and Theo Kuipers.
Yeah. Petra and Lauren?
Ruth Batsara.
Susan?
Mary Kellerman, Gail Weisberg, Joan McEwen.
Ruth?
Chayasora Bat Hana Barbara Karuba.
I realize somebody's calling in from 8459. I don't know who you are, or if you're still with us. If you wanted to unmute, I believe that if you press star and then the number 6, that will allow.
Hi.
Hi.
Marcia, Dory Swanberg, and Frostine and Arnold Aaron.
Great. Thank you for sharing those names, Marcia. Okay, so now the folks who are here in the actual room. Evelyn, do you have anyone that you want to add to the Mira?
Sure, Miriam Esker and Shane Rick.
Great, thank you. Anne, anybody for you?
Brother Charles Whitaker, Daniel Moshe, Ben Yaakov.
Hetty, anybody you're thinking of?
My sister Rose and her husband John, my friend Maria, and Catherine, and Rabbi Jim.
Great. Thank you, Hetty.
Excuse me, Katie Davis, Seal, I can't remember the last name. So
It's okay. Barbara said it last night and I don't remember either.
I don't remember it either.
Okay.
And Rabbi Jim.
Rochelle, anybody that you're thinking of for Misha Berach? No? Okay. Elise, anybody you're thinking of? Okay. Great, so we'll continue in the Hebrew. Alehem lahachazikam ulrafuatam v'yishlach lahem mehera refuah shalena min hashamayim refuat hanefesh urefuat haguf b'toch sha'ar hacholim v'chazek et yadei ha'oskim b'tzor chaychem Shabbat hi milizok ulrefuah krova lavo hashta ba'agala u'izman kariv v'nomar amen. One who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all those who we mentioned today, and anyone else who we may have forgotten that still needs healing. May the Holy One mercifully restore all of them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill, and may God grant strength to those who tend to them. Though Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out, we yet hope and pray that healing is at hand, and we say together, Amen. So we will continue with the Haftarah, and hopefully that gave folks a moment to feel called to read either in Hebrew or in English, the Haftarah. Anybody? Oh, Jim. Yes.
What's like a rule?
You're up. So the blessings for before and after the Haftarah are on page 175. And the Haftarah itself, Elise just pulled up on the screen.
It's 9:15.
9:15. And Jim, when you're ready, just make sure you unmute yourself, because we would definitely want to hear you.
Okay, I'm working on it. I'll be there in a minute.
No, all good, all good.
All right.
I realized you were muted, and I didn't want you to have to start and restart.
Sure. Here we go. Okay, very good. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'Moshe avdoho u'Yisrael amoho ובנביאי האמת והצדק. והייתה שביעית יעקב בקרב עמים רבים, כטל מאת אדוני, כרביבים עלי עשב, אשר לא יקווה לאיש, ולא יחל לבני אדם. I'm reading from a different translation. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people, like the dew from the Lord, like gentle rain upon the grass, as he shall not place hope in man nor expectation in humankind. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many peoples, like a lion among forest beasts, like a young lion among the flocks of sheep, that passes through and tramples and tears apart with none to save. Your hand shall loom over your foes, and all your enemies be cut off. And it shall come to pass, on that day, say the Lord, I will cut off your horses from your midst, and I will destroy your chariots, and I will cut off the towns of your land, and reduce to ruins all your fortresses, and I will cut off sorcery from your hands. Nor soothsayers shall you know, and I will cut off your idols and your cultic pillars from your midst, and no more shall you bow down to the work of your hands. And I will uproot your cultic poles from your midst, and I will destroy your icons, and I will act in anger and in vengeful wrath toward the nations that did not heed. Listen, pray to what the Lord has said. Rise, plead a case before the mountains, and let the hills hear your voice. Hear, O mountains, the case of the Lord, and you mighty pillars of the earth. For the Lord has a case against his people, and with Israel he would dispute. My people, what have I done to you? And in what did I do you in? Testify before me. For I brought you up from the land of Egypt, and from the house of slaves I redeemed you, and sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. My people, recall, pray, what Balak, the king of Moab, devised, and what Bilam, the son of Beor, answered him. From Shittim to Gilgal, that the Lord's bounties would be known. Bama Arkadem Adonai, Ikaf Elohei Marom, Ha'akad Menu, Ve'uolohot, Ba'agalim B'nei Shana, Hayirtze Adonai Be'alfei Elim, Be'vavot Nachalei Shamen, He'etain bechori pishi, peri vitni chatat nafshi. Hagid Lacha. Oh. With what shall I come before the Lord? Bow to the Most High God. Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with yearling calves? Is the Lord pleased with thousands of rams, myriads of streams of oil? Shall I give him my firstborn for my trespass, the fruit of my loins for my offense? It was told to you, man, what is good and what the Lord demands of you, only doing justice and loving kindness and walking humbly with your God. Hagid lecha Adam ma tov uma Adonai doresh mimcha ki im asot mishpat ve'ahavat chesed ve'hatnei ala leched im Elohecha.
Yasher Koach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol haolamim tzadik b'chol hadorot ha'el haneman haomer v'yoseh hamdaber umkayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek neman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'nemanim devarecha v'devarech ad midvarecha achor lo yashuv rekam Ki el melech neman v'rachaman ata baruch ata Adonai ha'el haneman b'chol devarav rachem al Tzion ki hi beit chayenu v'la'alu v'nefesh toshia b'mheirav yamenu baruch ata Adonai misamech Tzion b'vanecha Tzamchenu Adonai Eloheinu b'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha u'v'malchut beit David mishichecha V'mheira yavo v'yagel libenu al kiso lo yeshiv zahar v'lo yinchalu or acherim et kivodaho ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo shelo yichbenei ro le'olam va'ed baruch atah Adonai magen David al haTorah v'al ha'avodah v'al hanvi'im v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shana tata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdu shavalim nucha lichavod ol tifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvarchim otach yiparach shemcha b'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed baruch ata Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen. Yasher koach. Beautiful. Thank you for going back and forth between English and Hebrew. I like having both. I hope others do as well. And it's great to just have that opportunity. So thank you so much, Jim. So we have some time for discussion, which I'm really excited about. Usually we have to cram it in, and I feel grateful to have a little bit more expansive time. So you can see all your faces without having to turn back to the screen, which feels great. So I'm curious to hear what folks are thinking about when listening to the Torah reading or to the Haftarah. The floor is open. So if you want to, and ooh, I just need to find you again. If you want, oh, there you are. Okay. No. Okay, so yeah, unmute when you want to share something, and yeah, I will try and add people's voices in if somehow we start talking over each other. So go for it. Jim, yeah.
The character of Bilam is very intriguing. First of all, because there actually was uncovered a stone in Jordan that actually mentions Bilam. So he's the only major character from the Torah and from the Torah at all that there is extra biblical evidence for. That's pretty amazing. And he's presented in that stone carving as a wizard, as a who has a direct line to whoever is in charge up there and is importuning the gods to avert a famine. So that is pretty amazing in itself. The other thing that's intriguing about Bilam to me is that on one hand, he is very clear with the emissaries who come there that it's only God who is going to decide whether he can curse the Israelites or not. But on the other hand, if you read it carefully, it also suggests that he's playing a game here, and that he tells them to stay over, and he's going to check out from what God has to say. And then later he says to them, if you give me all the money in the world, I can't do anything other than what God tells me, as if he's actually inviting the king of Bilam to give him more money. And so his words can be interpreted in different ways. And so it's not surprising that his own donkey is more able to perceive the need to stop than he is. So I'll leave it at that.
That's awesome, Jim. Thank you for bringing that piece of history. I had no idea. Definitely gives interesting perspective of, or just a question for me of why, of all of the people in the Torah, why would that be the person that we have this extra information about? That just seems, I'm going to chew on that for a bit. It seems very strange. And I loved your perspective on the game playing aspect of what was happening. I definitely understand that read, and I'm going to think about that more also. It doesn't sit with me super well, and I'm going to start pay attention for myself as to why that is. Shirley, did you have your hand up? No. Okay. Other people want to jump in? Lauren, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I just had a small. Yes, I'm unmuted, I believe. Yes, I just had a small question. It's actually about the introductory portion that Susan read, and I'm a little puzzled where it says that Balaam, reputedly the world's most powerful wizard, cannot find his way out of his own neighborhood. Do they mean that literally? Because I don't see that in the story anywhere here. I mean, it sounds like he doesn't want to go and fulfill the ruler's command, but it doesn't seem that he's having trouble finding out where he's going or what he's doing. So have I misread something?
Does somebody else want to respond? I'm happy to let others feel. Yeah.
Miriam has her hand up.
Go for it. I think you're muted, Miriam.
No. I think that summary maybe puts it a little strongly, but is probably referring to the fact that when between the angel and the donkey, they have him hemmed in near the vineyard. He can't get out. But I think I'd like to follow up on what Jim was talking about. I think that Bilam is a little more complicated than the tradition gives him credit for, but that he doesn't have I think he really is a believer in God as the all-powerful one, and he doesn't want to transgress, but he also feels trapped in a way by Balak, who is the secular powerful ruler. So he's trying to thread the needle, and he's hoping that God will give him something he can do here. But he's groping. He doesn't see what his ass sees. He doesn't recognize the angel, but he does say consistently, I cannot say anything. I can't curse. I can't prophesy. But when God puts the words in my mouth, so I think he deserves some credit for that. And I also think, but I can't remember exactly what I read, that they found something, maybe a coin with David's name on it.
Oh. That I also don't know about. Clearly, I have a lot of history to brush up on. I'm grateful for all of you bringing me up to speed. My friend likes to joke that I'm on the old news network. I just wanted to circle back a little bit, integrating what Jim and Miriam and Lauren all brought up, which is this kind of backwards, like flipped aroundness of the story that like I tend to agree with what Miriam said, Lauren. I don't know if this like will satisfy the curiosity that you had about why the commentary was so kind of sharp about him not really being able to get out of his own way. But I feel like it was trying to emphasize this upside downness of what's happening, that like, especially because the animal is the one that seems to have more wisdom than the person. It's like, I think it's a bit of a commentary just on like how out of sorts he is and like unable to really be like on a straight path, if that's the metaphor that makes sense in this situation. Like that's what it brings up when I read it. So if you have more questions about it, Lauren, I'm happy to hear. That's what I was thinking. Other folks that want to chime in? Really? No. Oh, Jim, you want to say something else? Sure.
I wanted to add that the idea that the donkey has more ability to see what's really going on than the prophet has an interesting echo in Joseph Conrad's novel, The Secret Agent, which is about which talks about a bunch of anarchists who are plotting to blow up an important landmark in England. And there's a little scene that I read there that really struck me many years ago. They have an intellectually disabled son, and he's the only one who questions the morality of what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that brings up a beautiful couple different reads. Like one, that different people have different capacities to understand and really see and be truth tellers in the world, and that we can't really know sometimes like what one's capacity is not always able to be, the whole don't judge a book by its cover thing. Like just because it's a donkey, like the donkey ends up being one of the stars of the Parsha. Like that's so not the norm. And just like to remember, I think I tend to think that it comes in this Parsha as a way to like just, again, as I said before, really highlight the way that things are so off, and that sometimes we need that kind of foil in a way to like really to highlight what's happening. Yeah, thanks for bringing that in, Jim. Anybody else?
Another place in Torah where an animal is very important, and that's in the book of Jonah, where the whale first swallows him and then spits him up at the right time. Yeah. And we just had an episode in the news about a fisherman who did get, if not in the mouth of a whale, and was spit out, which kind of makes you wonder if there was some miraculous seeming episode in ancient history that somehow was part of the basis of the story in the Torah, the same way that they hypothesized the tales throughout the Mideast of there being a historic flood, or the times when it seems that there's something like a volcano erupting, that these were real natural things that got built into the Torah stories, which can reflect a historical truth as well as a moral truth in different ways.
Totally. Beautiful, Miriam. It reminds me, I think I shared this last week. A teacher of mine used to say, which I think was a quote from another teacher, the Torah is a commentary on the world, and the world is a commentary on the Torah. And I love seeing that every week in so many different facets, just like which came first, I mean, that's a whole philosophical discussion, but just this idea of it's this constant mirroring process. I really love that aspect of Torah.
And I think we should just pause for a moment and focus on the last verse that Jim chanted so beautifully, the ending of the Haftarah.
Yes.
That sums up the whole story too.
I love that verse. I was really struck by it this morning. Do you want to read it?
Read it again?
Yeah.
I don't have it right in front of me at the moment.
It says, he has told you, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of you, only to do justice and to love goodness and to walk modestly with your God. I mean, if that doesn't encapsulate everything in life, I don't know what does. It's very, very beautiful. Yeah, I really love that. Thanks for bringing that up, Miriam.
I just want to say that that whale was right here in Provincetown.
Wow. Wait, for real? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's where it happened. Provincetown.
Yeah. Have you been able to see, like, are people seeking out the fishermen, like trying to, I'm sure people are like chasing him down.
Well, my neighbor said he should take this opportunity to get t-shirts made and have a little kiosk on the pier where he can sell the t-shirts and also get people to take, you know, selfies with him. He can make a lot of money that way.
Yes. I'm sure, I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if he doesn't already have a book or a movie deal happening.
Right. Well, his family actually are artists. They have an art gallery here. They've been artists for generations, the Packards.
Oh, thanks. I only heard about the story. I didn't read it, so I didn't realize where it was. Local lore.
it could turn into some really nice art too. Sort of very inventive of showing him inside the mouth of the whale. That would be quite an adventure. But anyway, I'm glad the whale spit him out. What can we say?
He could become a featured speaker on the high holidays when we read the book of Jonah. He could like tour all the sailors to the real life account. That'd be pretty awesome.
He could say, I was there, you know.
If you run into him, tell him that he could have a very lucrative gig coming up. Anybody else, any last thoughts before we close the discussion and close this morning? Oh, yep, Sherry.
Well, in spite of this wonderful discussion, and I think there were some truths that came out, I find these stories unfathomable. But my admiration for the literary imagination, for the stories themselves is just so remarkable. The authors were so creative, and the literary quality is just amazing to me. The narrative, and that's what stands out for me. I mean, who could have thought of this? But I think that our attempt to find truth in these stories is also admirable.
Great, Sherry. Thank you for lifting that up.
Yeah, I'm so glad we had time for a discussion today.
I know, me too. It's amazing. I love it when that happens. Oh, Ben, did you mean to raise your hand virtually?
Yeah, I did. I wanted just to comment on Sherry's comment. This reminds me of fairy tales, and you should see how enchanted children are around these fairy tales that we think are sort of hokum, and sometimes they're dark, but they really resonate with children.
True. It's true. I wonder if that has something to do with the way, this is just a thought in the moment. This is not well formed, but something that like the connection to the fantastical and the otherworldly, at least for myself, I'll say that I feel like it's been conditioned out of me as I get older. You know, there's less emphasis on the importance of the imagination and creativity. You know, so I wonder if for children it resonates more because it's just closer. They're still encouraged, you know, in a much more normative way to connect to that aspect of life. So I wonder if that's part of why, you know, they love this. I don't know. It's just a thought. Yeah, I think in the moment I'm thinking, why am I more in Sherry's boat of like, did this really happen? Is this really possible? You know, but if I read this to my 5-year-old nephew, he'd be like, that's amazing. Like, you know, just this is fact, which I know has to do with child development and like their sense of reality and all of that. However, I do feel like a little bit of sadness that it's much harder to jump into that possibility.
last couple of years have been fantastical.
Yes, that's true, Ellen. The last couple of years have been very fantastical, although not in the same, I wouldn't say in the same kind of way, like not in a, for me, not like in a necessarily beautiful, exciting way, in like a difficult, hard to navigate kind of way.
Yes.
However, yes, otherworldly for sure, for sure. Well, I'll close with just a little bit of a bracha a little bit of a blessing that this last verse that we read in the Haftarah from Micha, that we can really find ways to embody that in each of our own daily lives. This idea of doing justice and loving goodness and walking humbly with God and each other, that if we can find ways to hold up those three pillars of the world, I think we will surely find ways to make the world a better place. So with that, I will close our discussion and we will move into the closing part of worship and study, which is Yismechu Sim Shalom Ein Keloheinu and Aleinu. So Yismechu can be found on page 189. And thank you all for sharing your thoughts and questions and wonderings. Yismechu b'malchutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malchutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei Shvi'i Shabbat, Kulam Yispe'u V'yitangu mituvecha. Yismechu v'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi'i Rasita bo v'kidashto Chamdat yamim Oto karata lezecher ma'aseh bereshit. Yismechu v'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat. We continue on 191 with Sim Shalom. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chen V'chesed V'rachamim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yisrael Amecha. Barchenu Avinu, Kulanu ke'echad, Be'or panecha, Ki ba'or panecha, Natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Torat Chaim, Ve'ahavat Chesed, U'tzedaka, U'veracha, V'rachamim v'chaim v'shalom Yamba 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 V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael B'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. And Ein Keloheinu can be found on page 204. I was thinking of a tune. This is the one that's coming to mind. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Mikemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emalkeinu. Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Atahu Shektiru, Avotenu Imotenu, Lefanecha Eketoret Hasamim. We will conclude with Aleinu on page 205. Please rise if you're able. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo samchaltenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu gorim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ובראשו מקרוב בשמיים מבעל, ושקיעת יוסו ושקיעת דוב מרומים. Eloheinu Enon, Emet Malkeinu Efesulato, Kakatu Betorato, Viadata Hayom, Lashevota Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, Bashamayim Mima'al, Bial haaretz, mitachat enon. Continue on the bottom of page 206. Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. For those who want to do Kadisha Tom, I forgot that we should do that before we close. I know that Anne was remembering some folks today, and Miriam, I believe you were also. Was there anybody else? Miriam, I think you're on mute, if you can unmute yourself. We're on page 207.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you. Okay, so we'll do Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalmad divrach pirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'omei almayas. Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei t'kudushav b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiram v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yal kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimru amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Jim, did you have some worship and study that you wanted to share?
Yeah. First of all, just keep in mind that Saturday evening, July 17th, is Erev Tisha B'Av, and stay tuned for some information about how we may, as a minyan, commemorate that. Second of all, on Sunday, the 25th, Sunday, July 25th, I am thrilled to be able
it was the 1st of August.
Rabbi Rachel Ali Kaplan is going to do a schmooze and learn that evening, that Sunday evening. So the topic is yet to be announced, but keep that in mind on the 25th.
Great.
And on August 1st, which is a Sunday as well, our book group is going to meet and talk about the book, The Secret Alliance by Tad Schultz, which a book about the rescue of refugees, Jewish refugees from Europe and also from the Arabic-speaking lands, in which in this book, Helen Jacobson's father is a major figure who is involved in the story that's told in this book and a major source of it, The Secret Alliance by Tad Schultz. And so we're going to get together and talk about that. I also want to say that everybody recalls that one of the most important central things that we did as a minyan was when we got together on Shabbat, a member of the minyan would give a little talk about the Torah portion, a Devar Torah, and then we would have a discussion. And with the spirited discussion we had today in mind, we're hoping to revive that by having a member of the minyan give a brief, just 5 minutes, introduction to the Torah portion, something to stimulate conversation every other week, roughly. And we need some folks to step forward to just get this thing going. So, Rabbi Jim expressed a desire that the person who was going to do it would be physically present at 100 Center Street when they come and do that, now that that's permissible for everybody who's been vaccinated. But it's possible that might be negotiable. So, so please come forward and talk to me or Rabbi Jim about volunteering for one of these brief Divrei Torah so we can get this wonderful part of our minyan's DNA to blossom and grow flesh and bones once again.
I nominate you, Jim, to kick it off.
Well, I'm one of them, but that's just one. So we need some more.
You can kick it off.
So
I wanted to make an announcement and to Mazel Tov to Lauren and Petra Joseph for the birth of their grandchild, and daughter to Joseph, to Josh Joseph and Tegan, and we wish them Mazel Tov.
Also, Asher Koach to Rabbi Rachel for being such a wonderful service leader. We have not missed a beat here.
Yes, thanks a lot, Rachel.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
And to Elise for helping.
To Elise.
First, so thank you all so much. I'm sorry that I forgot to say Yasher
I want to
now
say
I don't know.
thank
Oh, I
you
think I
for
hit my video. I was trying to make sure you can see me. Yes.
Shabbat shalom.
Yes,
Good
you're
to
still
see you.
Okay, great. I just wanted to say thank you to Ben for leading a beautiful Psuke de Zimra, for Susan for stepping in and leading a gorgeous Shacharit, for Miriam and for Sherry for reading Torah, for Jim for stepping in and doing Haftarah, for all of you for adding your voices to the discussion. Being here, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to get to spend Shabbat with you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I'm going to end the call. Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.
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 I want to say something about my friends Ken and Ruth.
Oh, yeah, I would love that.
I met Ken 1962 or 3 when I was assigned to sit at a desk next to him at IBM where we both worked.
Wow.
He was off doing something. He was a Rhodes Scholar. They both went to Reed College, and she got her doctorate at Columbia in sociology or something. She was born in Vienna, and her family lived in Vienna. And her father had some kind of business. And one of his coworkers, he was out of the country, one of his coworkers came to Ruth's mother and said, the Gestapo was here looking for him. You got to escape fast, So she left with Ruth, who's 6 months older than me. And they escaped to the United States. And
they were lucky.
They were. And I met, Ken and Ruth were married about 5 or 6 months after my husband and I were married. And we did things together. We always kept in touch by newsletter at the holidays or something. But Ken was not Jewish, but very open. Ruth was very Jewish. She refused to be listed on the Holocaust Memorial in Portland, although she qualified, but she didn't think of herself as a survivor, but as an escapee. And it was, you know, they were just wonderful people. They did everything. She skied. He didn't ski, but she loved to ski, so we went skiing together. And we did things off and on for years. And, you know, from 1962 or 63, 62 when I first sat next to Ken. That's a long time. And
you think so, huh?
And we went backpacking together and hiking, and they took along Daniel, my youngest, who's still in Portland, went hiking with us some of the time. And they were just, great. And in fact, the last year I was in Portland for Thanksgiving and Christmas, they invited us for Thanksgiving, Daniel and me. And then they always liked to do English Christmas because they had family in England. And so he would always roast the goose. And anyway, it was just, they really saved my time there in Portland with Daniel because my friends that I usually get with weren't around. Anyway, they were so special, and they didn't have children. They traveled all over the world. They'd come back and they'd have these gatherings, and they would make a meal from the country and invite some friends and show slides after the meal. So they were just wonderful.
They sound so lovely.
I hadn't figured out how to properly mourn them. And then last night, the summer concert of the Vienna Philharmonic from 2020 came on, and I know they went to, you know, hear them, and they did all those things there. And they were out in front of the Schönberg Palace on the big mall or whatever you call it, the gardens, and it was just beautiful. And I sat there, you know, now I'm getting emotional about it, but I didn't have anybody else to share it with. So.
Why are you telling us about them today, Ann?
Because I said Kaddish in their memory. Ken died in March and Ruth died in May on my birthday. And I didn't find out about it until a couple of weeks ago. And
sorry.
But they were very special people.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you asked to share about them.
Thank you so much.
To hear about them.
And they lived in a house that looked right into Forest Park, which is one of the largest parks in any city in the U.S. anyway. It's mostly wild and wonderful. And they had pet squirrels.
Wow.
We're going to head out. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for telling us.
Shalom.